Welcome in the latest episode of that SEC podcast. I'm your host, Michael Braden. Go by SEC Mike on Twitter. And I'm joined, as always, by my cousin Shane, who goes by Big Orange Vols on Twitter. What's up, yo, Tissy Hober?
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Oh, bad. I just hope they can hear you. I hope they can see us. We just never quite know with this damn show. You know what?
Absolutely. There's always a new surprise, and it usually has something to do with technology. So if I'm sounding good, thumbs up for Mike. If I'm not, then we'll adjust on my side.
Yeah, absolutely. So, hey, we already got some people filing into the comments here. And, hey, it's not often. Well, it looks like Cousin Shane's making comments himself down here. This is a rarity right here. This is a Cousin Shane show topic idea. So you want to run the folks, Shane, through your idea so I don't screw it up? Give them an outline of what you want to accomplish on this episode of the show.
Absolutely, Mike. There's so much newness happening this season, brother. And obviously, we've got the expansion of the SEC. We've got different conferences making noise. But what's really coming up more often than not is this college football playoff. What is it going to look like now that there's 12 spots? So you and I, we're very confident that the SEC is going to have multiple teams here. But I'm curious, is there 8 teams that realistically have a shot to make a college football playoff this year? I think so. I've got a list, Mike. So that's what I wanted to go through is the 8 teams that realistically have a shot to go to the college football playoffs. But I'm not going to leave the other 8 off, Mike. You know why?
Why is that?
Because those teams, I'm going to give you one game that they're going to upset somebody that would prevent one of those teams from going to the college football playoffs. So, Mike, I hope this list makes sense. It probably doesn't. Grab a beer, sit back, and enjoy.
You already lost me. I'm just kidding. Yeah, so half the SEC making the playoff like they should. Probably won't happen that way, but hell, it like I said, it should happen that way. But man, I can't wait to dive into this.
Yeah, and I'm not necessarily saying 8 teams from the SEC are going to make the college football playoffs. The point of this show, Mike, is I'm going to convince you that the 8 teams I have on my list are going to make the college football playoffs. So obviously there's going to be a few get left off and so on and so forth. But as I'm going through my list, each of these 8 teams that I've got on mine, I'm going to convince you why individually they should make a college football playoff run.
Okay, and I promise you, my list is going to be different than yours.
Oh, yeah.
So Shane told me to get 8 together here, and I said, well, by God, this is going to be boring as hell. It's going to be the same 8. And then I said, nope, I can figure a way to make this even more creative. So we got to start with the obvious one, Shane, right off the top. I assume your list as well. The Vanderbilt Commodores.
Oh, the Vanderbilt Commodores are not going to make the college football playoffs, Mike, unfortunately. So I do think one intriguing part of Vanderbilt is the scrappiness of this team, brother. I'm not saying that there's a lot of pressure on the Commodores, but there will be. I think everybody's going to be talking about Coach Lee coming into another season where he's not even predicted to make a bowl game, which is tough,
right,
in this transfer. So Mike, on this list,
wait, before you just made me think of something. I hate to cut you off there, but what's worse, not making a bowl game, or remember they went damn winless in the SEC. We got to remember they had won 2 games in the SEC the previous season. They won 5. They nearly made a bowl game 2 years ago, Shane. And Clark Lee coming into and I don't fault him for this. We were praising him for it, so we can't praise him then and dig him now. But what's worse, the fact that they've not made a bowl yet, or that the coach came out and said, that's the goal. We're making a bowl this year. And then they got significantly worse than even win a damn conference game. What's worse?
I think it's worse saying you're going to make a bowl game and then taking a huge step back. You know what I'm saying? Because I know Vanderbilt is going to lose players. Their best players have moved on, unfortunately. Right. But there's still a lot of great players out there that are not in a Power 5 conference. You know, that should be your job. That should be your focus, building a team from within. And I'm not saying that Coach Lee's not doing it, but, you know, I just don't think he's done it successfully so far. So
right.
There's a way to build a roster in 2024 with, you know, full of players that may not go to Georgia, that may not go to an Alabama or something like that. You can build a roster and be competitive in the SEC. But Mike, I didn't want to start off with the losers.
Right, we're putting people to sleep here. Real quick, Shane, cousin Taylor, it's his birthday tomorrow, so happy birthday. Everybody wish Taylor a happy birthday in the comments
here.
Happy birthday, cuz. But, so let's get into it. Playoff teams for the upcoming season. Obviously, we know where you're going. Let's go number one on your list here.
Yeah, number one, I'm going Georgia Bulldogs, Mike. I think this is pretty obvious. I think there's some Texas love out there. I think that there's a little bit of Ole Miss love, but all in all, Georgia is absolutely loaded. You got Beck coming back. I think one of the things that stands out to me is, yes, there's no McConkey, there's no Bowers, but I think I could argue that there is more help around Carson Beck coming into this season. You know, and I don't like to use that revenge tour, even though I keep saying it every time I talk about Georgia. You know, they got left out, brother. They got embarrassed on national TV, got their ass kicked down there in Atlanta by Alabama, and they missed the college football playoffs. And you know, it doesn't matter what we say. It doesn't matter what people on the outside are saying about the Georgia Bulldogs. I can guarantee you Kirby Smart has reminded these kids every single day that they weren't good enough last year, that this is a new team. They have a real shot to do it, but nothing's going to be given. I'm expecting a violent season from them Georgia Bulldogs, brother. They got their running game back. Their defense looks mean as hell. I just think that this is the year that Georgia Bulldogs make a run. And for them to be left out of the college football playoffs, you got to find 2 losses. There's some tough games on their schedule, but I don't know if there's more than 2.
Right. And to your point, Shane, again, I think the listeners know by now. I love these analytics and all these computer nerds out here breaking down these games because it's just a unique way that is above our knowledge of math and science and things of that nature. But, the one that I kind of value more than any other is my buddy Dave Bartu, CFB Matrix. He runs Matrix Analytical, and they help these whenever there's a coaching firing, what have you, they help find head coaches, not only head coaches, coordinators, assistant coaches. They help in all aspects of it, and they get paid professionally to do this all across. Several of the SEC teams employ Dave Bartu and his CFB Analytics Matrix here. And I'm going to try to get him on, Shane. He's put out some numbers here. He's put out best case for each team and worst case for each team. I'm not going to go through all of these because we'll save that for when we actually get him on the show. But Georgia, Shane, only one on this list. Well, I shouldn't spoil it. Ceiling, obviously, we know 12-0. What do you think the floor is for Georgia, according to CFB Matrix Analytical?
11-1.
12-0. The only one in the entire SEC. 12-0 is the floor, not the ceiling, the floor. Yeah. So, according to his model, they're not going to lose a damn game. So, yeah, Georgia far and away number one right now in the SEC and quite frankly, the country.
Yeah, and again, they could have went to the college football playoff. They could have won a national championship. I think for the opponents that Georgia faces this year, that would have been best case scenario. But the fact that they didn't even get to play in that game, I think that's the tenacity that you're going to see from them dogs. So yeah, I hate that Tennessee Vols got them on the schedule, but there's going to be a lot of opponents that are going to have their hands full.
And Anthony says, "Hey, analytics don't mean shit." I will say this though. According to Dave Bartu, remember last year, Georgia's going to win it. Georgia's going to win it. Mm-hmm. His model said Georgia did not have a national championship team, and this is throughout the season. He had Michigan as the team to win it, and of course we all know who won it. Right? But had Georgia faced them, I would have taken Georgia, no doubt. But again, that's his model. All right, do you want me to go number 2, or you want to go number 2? Where do you want to go?
What do you got number 2?
You're going to like this one, Shane. It ain't the decaying dynasty. It ain't your Vols. It ain't, Texas Longhorns. It's them Ole Miss Rebels for me, brother. I think second best odds to make a run at the college football playoff. I obviously had Georgia as well, but I like Ole Miss, Shane. And again, maybe for this, the last one we were doing, power rankings, schedule has no effect on that. Mm-hmm. This is completely different. The schedule does factor in for me when you're talking college football playoff run, because what do I see here, Shane? I see, or more importantly, what don't I see? I don't see Alabama.
Yeah.
Who Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss can't beat Alabama. I don't see Texas on here, who everybody's got as the second coming out of the Big 12 here into our conference to go dominate us. They are on a schedule. So, I'm seeing a lot of really good teams. Tennessee's not here. In the marquee games, you got three of them, Georgia, Oklahoma, LSU. 2 out of the 3 are at home. So this is not just schedule related. I truly think Ole Miss at worst, Shane, it's probably the third, I'm saying at worst here. At worst, the 4th best team in the SEC. I think they're better than that. But again, with this schedule, with that roster, with the coaching they have, it'll be a disaster if Ole Miss doesn't make the playoff, I think.
I think you're right, brother. And I don't have them at the 2 spot, but one of the things that I've got them up there so high is that schedule. Like you said, it's not about just who they got. You're looking for 2 losses. And with Ole Miss, I could argue 2 of them, but I can't do 3, And if there is 3, then Lane Kiffin effed up somewhere. And
right.
Hopefully that doesn't happen, because that whole, the last dance, it almost feels like with Ole Miss, it's like you're playing Madden and you turn the salary cap off and you just get the players you want. That feels kind of what happened here with Ole Miss, that we've got the toys. We've got all the pieces that we need to make a run deep into the college football playoffs. You can't get in your own way. And I love the moves. I love the depth. I think the depth's important, but more importantly, I love the quarterback. I think we've got a potential Heisman winner here on this roster. You know what I'm saying? Not only is he returning, but the talent that is around him now, the pressure's off. Jackson Dart does not have to win games, but Jackson Dart will. And I think this is, everybody's going to be watching him. This is the Colorado of the SEC, Mike. Everybody, this is the sexy pick that everybody wants to talk about right here. And if they don't go to the playoffs, then fire Lane Kiffin. I'm saying it right now.
Oh, fire him.
No, I'm just kidding. Well, the thing is, ever since we've watched Lane Kiffin as a head coach, we've always said, well, at least the offense is going to be good.
Right.
But you know what's going to be good this year? That damn defense. And I think a lot of people, not enough people are talking about that. The defense is going to keep them in a lot of games. Jackson Dart and company, they're going to win them.
Now, this is fair, though, and this is why I call him Lane Whiffen, because of Sven here, Shane. What is Kiffin's best win? I guess it's last year beating LSU, maybe. Yeah. Winning at Tennessee that one year. Golf ball. But, aside from that, he doesn't have a ton of... they whooped the hell out of Penn State in a bowl game, but again, we don't respect Penn State as much as we do a lot of these teams in the SEC, so I guess it's LSU, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Yeah, he's won a lot of battles online,
All right, so Ole Miss not your number 2. Who is your number 2?
No, Texas Longhorns, Mike. Your Texas Longhorns. Man, I think I guess maybe it's a spring game. I don't know, brother. Obviously there was a lot of anticipation when they came over, but, I got to see them. And this looks like an SEC school. A lot of scrimmage. They're deep. They got some big uglies up front. I love that. I think yours is going to be very good. We don't have quarterback controversy. Everybody's. I was trying not to mention Arch Manning, but by God, if yours does go down, at least you got a serviceable quarterback that could come in here and continue to win football games. So that's something to be said. I don't know. I like Texas. The only concern I have is the secondary, because part of spring games, Mike, I don't know if you do this, it's like if one side's doing really good, you're like, does our defensive backs suck that bad? It's like part of you is kind of thinking that, but then you're like, no. Our quarterbacks are just that good. So loaded quarterback room, loaded receiver room. I know we lost a running back, but I still think we got plenty of depth back there as well. I mean, they're built to make that run. And the icing on the cake, Mike, is that cupcake schedule that they were served up as they came in here to the SEC. Mike, can you pull that one up real quick?
Is it a conspiracy, Shane? You think they want Texas to do really well right out the gate or something?
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I mean, it is. When you see Texas and then you look at Oklahoma's schedule, you're like, come on, guys, come on. But you're looking at Oklahoma, Georgia, the toughest? I mean, you could argue A&M, I guess, because that's going to be a rivalry. Maybe Michigan second week, but there is no reason that Texas should not be in a college football playoff by the end of this season.
Right. Well, I could come up with a reason or two. You just wait for that, Shane. But again, all right. So they're your number 2.
Yes.
Man, you're overlooking the team to beat, in my opinion, Shane. I don't even have my number 3. The Missouri Tigers. Come on, man. Come on. And again, schedule doesn't matter for the power rankings, but it matters for what we're talking about right here. Path to the college football playoff. It's funny. We got these Tennessee people saying, well, Tennessee's going to be favored in every damn game. Well, I don't think that's true. I mean, they didn't say every game. They said 11. But Mizzou's going to be favored legitimately, I think, in probably 10 to 11 games here. I mean, and if Alabama stumbles, let's say Alabama does take a huge step back, which I'm not saying they will, but I'm saying that is certainly possible. Greatest coach of all time, not there anymore, obviously. Alabama could be in shambles come October 26th, and if they are, give me Mizzou in that one too. I mean, this is not. You said Texas schedule is easy. This is a damn easiest schedule in the SEC. I mean, they ought to win 11 games, or they've done something wrong here.
No, I'm right there with you. They're number 3 on my list too, Mike. And a lot of that has to do with the scheduling, but I think it more has to do with confidence in this offense. Brady Cook coming back, that wide receiver room, it's loaded, brother. It's not just the Luthers. I'm talking all the way down from top to bottom. That may be the most talented receiver room in the country when it's all said and done. And you've got a quarterback that is going to put you in the right spot. And because you remember this time last year, we had a quote-unquote quarterback controversy, and it's like, is Brady Cook even the guy? There's no question now. He's getting all the reps. He's working on that chemistry. This should be the most efficient offense come week 1 than any team in the country right now. I truly believe. The only reason I have them at the 3 spot is because of defense. I do think the defense takes a little bit of a step back, but even if they just take a step back, that offense is going to take 2 steps forward. So they'll be fine. No reason not to make a college football playoff.
Yep. All right, so I just went. Who you got? Your number 4.
Number 4, I've got the LSU Tigers.
Oh, Shade. How many beers have you had today already? We got LSU all the way up here.
Oh, man, I don't know why everybody's sleeping on them. I mean, they act like Coach Kelly can't win 10 damn games. Guess what? He's done it since 2017, Mike.
Yeah.
There's no reason that LSU should not repeat at least a 10-win season here. I am a firm believer in Garrett Nussmeier. I think seeing him during that spring game he looked the part. He absolutely looked the part. The schedule's nice. The reason I like the schedule is because the pivotal games, the games that really are going to matter, are going to get you into that playoff spot, they are at home. And I'm talking about Ole Miss, I'm talking about Alabama, and I'm talking about Oklahoma. Those are pivotal matchups. And if you can win 1 or 2 of those, buddy, guess what? You're going to the offseason. So offseason, damn. Postseason, my bad. We're in the offseason, hence this list, Mike. But I think it's more about Coach Kelly. The fact that he was able to get those 2 10-win seasons while building this current roster, I think everybody's quick to knock the defense, but LSU doesn't win games with their defense anymore. They win it with their offense.
I'm gonna do a little spoiler here for you, Shane. You asked me to have my 8 playoff teams.
Yeah.
LSU didn't even make my damn list here.
Oh, golly, Mike. Damn.
But who did?
Who?
The decaying dynasty, baby. We're back. Alabama. We finally got us a coach here, Kayla DeBoer, with, again, Georgia, they're probably going to lose that one, but maybe that's not a foregone conclusion. Maybe they, the narrative changes completely, Shane. If they beat Georgia at home, September 28th, 5th week of the season, 4th game on the schedule, we got 2 weeks to prepare for it. I mean, Alabama's going to shoot up to number 1 in the rankings probably if they take care of Georgia. And then all of a sudden, if you could beat Georgia, the schedule's daunting. At Tennessee, Mizzou, at LSU, at Oklahoma, Auburn. If you could beat Georgia, you beat all those damn teams. So again, I'm not saying you're going to go undefeated here, but I would quite honestly, I'd be stunned if Alabama falls apart here and goes 8-4 and all this, like a lot of people are projecting. Now, would I find it funny? Yes, I would, but I'm not predicting that by any means. You know what?
Yeah, I'm not either. And maybe because I'm so callous to Bama winning all the damn time, I'm just not quite ready to say they're not going to win. So, yeah, they're right there at the same spot for me, Mike. I think Alabama does have a really good shot to make it to the college football playoff because they got a Heisman winner potentially there at quarterback. And I know I tried not to throw that out too often. There's 2, maybe 3 quarterbacks in the SEC I really do think has a good shot to win. This is one of them. Jalen is the everything package. And now he's in an offense that I think is better suited for him. You remember this time last year we had quarterback controversy. We had even week 3, week 4, we didn't really know what we were going to do with Jalen Milroe. We know exactly what to expect from Milroe this season, and I think they've built this off. They're going to build this offense around him. They will be exciting. This will be a fun offense. That's my favorite part, and they're still talented. I know a lot of people left, a lot of talent left, but I guarantee you, there's more 4- and 5-star talent still there than 95% of the other teams in the country. They will be fine.
And to your point, Shane, it was. I don't know how they got away with it. Again, we could sit here and rehash last season all off season, but I don't know how in the hell they ever got around Tommy Rees, who he didn't like Jalen Milroe. He wanted his Notre Dame quarterback.
Yep.
That guy's now back at Notre Dame. He ain't even playing football anymore. He's playing lacrosse. That's how awesome he was. But
mowing on the weekends, yeah.
Let me ask you, because again, we respect J.D. Piquel. He's been on this show. Mm-hmm. He's one of the best in the business. But he said something after Alabama spring game that I took issue with, because he compared it to Jaden Daniels. Year 2, LSU, breakout season, won the Heisman Trophy, and again, this time last year, Shane. We forget a lot of the takes. Yeah. But some people. Not many, but some people are saying, hell, they ought to put Garrett Nussmeier in there. Did you see what Garrett Nussmeier did to Georgia's defense in the SEC? And remember, Georgia went on and won national championship and killed TCU. So, that was the barometer. And some people were looking at it like, how high can they go with Jaden Daniels? Well, now he's about to be the 2nd pick in the NFL draft. No one remembers those comments. But the point being, Shane, is, maybe putting that type of projection out there, I don't think that's fair for a couple reasons. It would be, this will be year 2 for Jalen Milroe as a starter, but it's obviously a new offense, new head coach. He's not going to have those elite receivers that Jaden Daniels had last year, including Malik Neighbors. Sounds like he's going to be the first overall receiver taken in the upcoming draft. He had an elite offensive line, and I'm not sitting here saying Alabama's devoid of talent, but I just don't think that's a fair comparison, given that at LSU it was year 2 for the head coach, offensive coordinator, all the pieces. I don't think that's a fair comparison to Jalen Milroe going into year 2. What would be your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't either, and the reason is, again, it just felt like last year, going back to last season, Jaden, we knew what he was. We didn't know what Jalen was. Jalen just had to keep growing throughout the season, and it felt like they just kept trying to sit a square peg peg down in a round hole. It's just like, It's not working. It's not working. But then when they finally said, okay, let's play toward this, then everybody's saying, well, Tommy Reese is a pretty good coordinator. He finally figured it out. It's like, dude, how did you not figure it out in the offseason? So I just don't think that's the problem here. I just think he kind of had handcuffs on, and now the film's out. We know exactly what Milroe can do, can't do, and I think they'll be fine, brother. I think there's a lot of exciting games, and one of the things that I like about Bama, if you pull that schedule up one more time, is they have time. And I know everybody wants to point out the Georgia Bulldogs, Week 4. Who cares? You win that game, great. If you lose that game, who cares? That's not going to keep you out of the college football. Back in the day, that may keep you out of the playoffs. It won't now. You can lose that game. Then you got Vanderbilt, South Carolina. If you can catch fire by Tennessee, Mizzou, LSU, those 3 games right there, brother, if you could just win 2 of those, you're going to make it. I think they win out. I'm not completely sold on Oklahoma just yet, but I think by that time, some of this youth, some of this team, they'll rally. We'll find it. We'll find like their image. So, I think Bama's got a real good shot here this year.
Okay, so I went Alabama as my number 5. Who are you going with next on your list here, Shane?
All right, so I'm kind of bouncing around. So that was number 5?
For me.
All right, so number 6. Who do you think I got?
Tennessee.
Tennessee Volunteers. I got 3 reasons here. Nico, and Nico. That's right. I'm all in. And people are saying, did you not watch the spring game, Shane? Absolutely, I watched it. They didn't let this kid run. They didn't let him play the Josh Heupel style that we're going to see this fall. I think he's the piece we've been missing, brother. We're moving on from Milton, and how far he can throw. We've now got a quarterback in there that thinks about running more than throwing, and I'm telling you that system is going to work.
Oh wait, can you hold up real quick, Shane? We got a $10 from Cousin Jared. Yeah, appreciate you, Cousin Jared. Big LSU. I changed my mind. LSU's making the playoff.
Yeah.
You know what?
See, it would have been $20 if you wouldn't. He ain't even got him on the list. Hey, Mike, but back to Tennessee's schedule. One of the things I like about this is when you're looking at it, you're seeing Oklahoma early. That's scary. Florida, we won't even talk about that one. Let's just pretend Tennessee wins that game for sure. Alabama, Georgia. You lose to Alabama and Georgia, I think there's still a real good shot that Tennessee makes a playoff spot. Again, 10 wins in the SEC. I know that sounds crazy, but that's going to be tough to do, and strength of schedule does matter here. So, yeah, I'm on the quarterback. Like I said, I think this wide receiver room is maybe not quite 23 talented, but it's deeper. And there's just different kinds of pieces that are going to be floating around. I love the offensive, especially that defensive line. That may be the best in the country. They're going to create havoc up front, give Heupel some short field situations. So I like the Tennessee Vols, obviously.
Right. And talking offensive, defensive line, that's not going to, that's not a sexy topic, so to speak, but that looks to be where Tennessee is going to be strong, again, on both sides of the line of scrimmage. And everybody obviously points to Nico, but, just look last year, Shane. And again, when you talk Joe Milton, it's just such a mixed bag because there's been so much hype that I think he was always made out to be something that he wasn't. Yet he was probably the 6th or 7th best quarterback in the SEC last year. Mm-hmm. And I'm not looking at his stats, but I think he had 24 passing touchdowns and like 6 interceptions. Like that's better than most teams. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So he was not awful by any means. But again, they had to adjust because they went from Hendon Hooker, who scored 40 touchdowns, down to Joe Milton scoring 20. So what do? They adjust, and they were dominant on the ground.
Yeah.
So they could be dominant on the ground again, potentially, with this offensive line, with the running backs they have coming back. They don't need Nico to be Superman. Now, will they need him to beat Alabama, to beat Georgia? He probably will have to be. But, hell, 10 other games, I don't necessarily – it's not like they're going to need him to score 4 touchdowns every game like he did in the bowl game.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's the little things, Mike. It's just the chain, moving of the chains. There's a lot of times you're sitting there and you're looking at Milton throw, and I can't believe we're talking
because
about
of Dakota,
Milton.
Shane.
Oh, thank you, cuz. But I'm looking at it like, dude, just go 5 yards. I know that sounds easy. I'm not going to run 5 yards, but damn, I'm not a quarterback for the Tennessee Vols, and there's no reason that, like, if you have that mindset, because now you've got 3 more plays. And I just felt like sometimes we played scared back there. And I don't think Nico's got that gamer mentality. You can just tell it, brother. He's going to be a game changer, and Tennessee Vols are looking good this year.
All right. So, so far we got similar lists. I didn't mention Texas because you already did. I have them number 4, so I don't want the Longhorns to think I'm just completely overlooking them. But any Longhorns that I just went over, Shane, I'm going to lose them right here because my number 7 team, them Aggies, come on, brother, come on. All these home games, Mike Elko effect, real, and here we go. Again, you take care of your home game, Shane. I'm looking at you, Notre Dame, and Mizzou, and LSU, and oh yeah, God's gift to football, Texas, come November 30th. If this is a huge if, I get it, but if you win those home games, who the hell are you losing to? At Florida? No. At Mississippi State? No. South Carolina? No. Auburn? No. Again, I think Texas A&M, and they're not going to win all these games. I'm not crazy or anything, but if they can get to 10-2. Hell, maybe even 9-3, but around 10-2, I think is where you got to get to make the college football playoff, and it may come down to that November 30th contest against Texas. If you beat Texas, you win 10 games, you are headed to the college football playoff in Mike Elko's debut season. Tell me I'm right.
You are not, Mike. Hey, I'm not going to lie, though. I went round and round with this 8 spot, and I backed him out, Mike. I backed him out. Maybe because you're so high on him, I don't want to touch that with
It's a smart strategy.
That's right. I'm going the opposite here. I went Oklahoma for the 8 spot, and when I'm looking at Oklahoma, I think some questions got answered in spring. Everybody wants to talk about that offensive line, and I don't know, man. I didn't walk away from that game thinking, damn, Oklahoma is going to suck on the offensive line. I felt like they held their own. I felt like there was some explosive running plays, and not to mention Oklahoma's got a pretty damn defense, especially up front. So, but when I'm looking at Oklahoma, I'm needing a game changer. I think it's Jackson Arnold. I'm sold that him and that Dion connection. That's going to be electric. And when you're looking at some teams, some swing games that are going to get you into a college football playoff, I'm looking at Tennessee. I'm looking at Texas, Ole Miss, Mizzou, Alabama. I mean, they got a tough schedule, brother. They're like I said, they're the total opposite of Alabama. But I do think that they've got enough firepower on that side of the ball to hang with just about any of these guys. The reason I like them, Mike, is because of how tough that schedule is. I think if you were going to make an argument for any team to get into a college football playoff with 9 wins, it's Oklahoma. Because of just the way they end the season. They end with Mizzou, they end with Alabama, they end with LSU. Brother, if you could find a way to win 2, maybe even 3 of those games, it doesn't matter about the Texas. It doesn't matter how you started the season. People remember what you did in November, so I'm making a case for Oklahoma to get in, even if they only have 9 wins.
Yeah, and I think that's a hell of a pick, Shane. They're the ones I wanted to put in. Probably would have, but I got one other, Shane. You want to buckle your seatbelt here, brother? Because this is where I'm going to lose you and the entire audience. Can you take a guess?
Number 8? God, don't say it. Oh, don't you say Florida Gators. Don't.
Florida Gators, come on, baby. If we're putting 8 teams in this bad boy, Shane, again, I get it. Everybody think, we're going to suck. Billy's going to be fired come, October 1 or something crazy like that. But I think everybody's looking at this the wrong way, Shane. And this is where I wanted to go with this. Because again, I knew this was going to be boring if we just had the same 8.
Yeah.
But you're telling me, let's say Florida goes 9-3.
Yeah.
Which, again, I realize that's the odds are against it. But let's say they go 9-3. And I'm just looking at the schedule here. Let's count the 3. Let's say Georgia's a loss. I think that's safe to assume. Let's say at Texas. Let's say that's a loss.
Yeah.
And then let's say Florida State. Well, let's say LSU because you've convinced me now. Or no, A&M because I've convinced myself A&M's going to be elite, right? So right. A&M, Georgia, and Texas. Those are your 3 losses. That means you beat LSU. You beat Ole Miss. You won at Tennessee. You have beaten Florida State. You've beaten Miami. You've beaten all these good teams. Would you put in 9-3 Florida with this schedule over, let's say, a 10-2 Texas? Or Ole Miss or Missouri. I think that's one thing people are overlooking in all of this. Again, we're high on Mizzou, we're high on Ole Miss. You're over the damn moon on Texas. But these schedules, if they're perceived and they turn out to be easy, which that's the wrong word, but just not as difficult as this damn gauntlet, give me the team that went 9-3 on this gauntlet over these 3 that I just threw out there that went 10-2. I think that's what the playoff committee is going to be evaluating is not just the record, but how you got there, if that makes sense.
Mike, part of me wants to call you a damn idiot. And that's what I'm going to call you. I think you're a damn idiot. But how can you talk about how tough this schedule is and pile on all offseason if you're not going to give credit on the back end to win the damn games? And pulling up pull that schedule up one more time. I think similar to Oklahoma, it's how you end the season. If they do lose to let's say A&M, Georgia, and Texas, but they beat probably at this time a top 10 LSU, top 15, a top 5 maybe Ole Miss, top 10, a Florida State that probably ain't going to lose to anybody till this game. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that may be a top 3 team. If you beat those 3 in a row, I don't care if you were not in the top 25 coming into it, by God, you should be pretty damn close to that top 15, top 12 by the time it's all said and done. Again, it's a lot of crazy things have got to happen. I just don't see it happening. But I'm like you, if they win these pivotal matchups toward the tail end, you can't talk about how tough it is and then not give them credit if they beat them,
Right. And shout out Cousin Rick, $20 donation.
Oh, baby, Rick.
Kyle Field be rocking Aggies 10-2. My man Rick, he knows what's up. Yeah, give me 10-2 here. College football. If the Aggies go 10-2, we're putting them in the playoff, right?
Yeah, 10-2, definitely in the playoffs. And obviously, I didn't have the Aggies in my top 8. But Mike, the second part of this topic was going through the ones we didn't have in our top 8.
Wait, was there any that we may have missed that round out your top 8 that maybe didn't make?
Oh, well, I made I brought
because you said despite Cousin Rick's loyalty, giving us money every show, you won't put the Aggies in. I don't know what's wrong with you, but you do got LSU in there. And Oklahoma. All right, so maybe that is your 8 right there.
I had Georgia, Texas, Mizzou, LSU, Ole Miss, Bama, Tennessee, and Oklahoma.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if I'm being honest, Shane, I mean, odds are certainly better that LSU and Oklahoma make it in before Florida. And I would even argue probably before A&M.
Yeah.
Just because it's year 1 of Mike Elko and all that. But I'm sticking with A&M and Florida.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. That's the 2 that I went back and forth on.
Yeah.
I really do think that they've got the talent. The spring game, I didn't walk away. That damn transfer portal is a bear. They can't afford to lose any more depth. It's just there's some things, there's some moving pieces, and how quick does that settle? I'm not so much worried about A&M at the tail end of their season. It's just right out of the gate, trying to discover their identity. I don't know. And sometimes
Cousin Edward says it best. Haven't you guys lost enough money on Texas A&M?
I'm not. That's why I'm not it. I don't got them in the 8. I'm afraid to put any money on them. So,
all right. So so we still got several teams here that neither one of us projects as a playoff team this season. But Shane, again, this is a Shane idea right here. A game in which those teams. Oh, wait. Before we get to that, though, real quick, because what happens here, and again, this is crazy, Shane. This is going to be crazy. But I'm going to throw up these schedules real quick. Let's say Alabama. All these teams go 9-3.
Yes.
Alabama, which I think is kind of realistic, right?
Yeah.
Tennessee, 9-3. I'd buy that.
Yeah.
A&M, 9-3.
Yeah.
Certainly, you could talk me into that. Well, Florida, I already lost you on that one, but maybe you don't want to include Florida that one. Oklahoma, I think they'd take that 9-3 debut SEC, and then LSU. That's what they won last year. They went 9-3. If all these teams go 9-3, again, I'll run it: Bama, Tennessee, A&M, Oklahoma, LSU. You can't put them all in. I mean, in this 8 teams from the SEC go make it, we'll put them all in there. But there's got to be a cutoff somewhere.
Yeah.
So if all those teams are equal, Alabama, Tennessee, A&M, Oklahoma, LSU, and Florida, if my crazy ass is right, who are you putting in there?
Well, I told you the reason I had Oklahoma at the 8 spot was because of strength of schedule, and so I would probably lean toward them. But the fact you got Florida in the mix makes things a little difficult, because I do think that these guys got the toughest schedule, and if they can somehow miraculously pull off a 9-3 season, they should definitely put them in the college football playoffs.
Right.
Because I think there's a real good shot that they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 top 25 wins by this time, or games at least. You know what I'm saying?
Right. God, I'm praying for you, Billy. That's what I'm doing here. I'm throwing up a Hail Mary that you can get it done. You know what?
Absolutely, brother.
So if they go 9-3, you're giving it to Oklahoma and Florida.
Yeah.
Over Bama, Tennessee, A&M, and LSU. I guess it really will depend on how you get there.
Yeah.
Did Oklahoma beat Tennessee? Did they beat Bama? Did Florida? Did Florida beat Tennessee? I mean, I guess these are kind of the unknowns, but again, I think it'll go to strength of schedule for a lot of these.
Yeah. Man,
and
it is tough.
If Mizzou and Ole Miss go 9-3, they're out, I think.
Oh yeah. I think so with that schedule, because the opposite conversation we had about Florida Gators and Oklahoma. If you can't turn around and say, hey, they've got the easiest schedule, there's no reason they make it, and then they go 9-3, it's like, well, come on, guys, you had your shot.
They beat Boston College, though.
Yeah.
All right, sorry. So I didn't mean to cut us off. So Shane's second part to this, the teams that we don't currently view as playoff teams for and hell, we've been wrong before, but the teams we don't see as playoff teams out of the SEC, what game can they cause havoc for somebody else and cost them a playoff team? The opponent. We're costing the opponent a playoff game. So let's start with Arkansas, Shane. Who you got as a likely, so basically a big trap game, if you will, where Arkansas can kind of muck it up for someone that's trying to reach the college football playoff?
November 30th, a rivalry that does not exist, brother. Arkansas, if they were to knock Mizzou out right there and potentially be, I don't know, man. You may have a tough case of putting a 10-2 team in if they lose to that. I mean, that is a must win for them. Because outsiders are always going to be a little bit leery of Mizzou. Is this legit? Do they belong? And if you drop to the Arkansas Razorbacks, there may be a real shot a 10-2 Mizzou does not get in. So that's the one I'm eyeing if I'm a Razorback.
You got Arkansas beating this team? Come on, Shane, get the hell out of here with that. They can't beat the Mizzou Tigers. I see why you went there, but I'm going a different one for you, Shane. Here's one. This is for our buddy Hot Rod. He's got me convinced on this one, Shane. Trap game potential, November 2nd. Again, we'll go back to the schedule talk. If they beat Ole Miss in Fayetteville, Ole Miss ain't getting in there. And look, and here's the reason why I went with this game, Shane. Here's Ole Miss schedule leading up to this one. At LSU, Oklahoma at home. Then you go to Arkansas before hosting Georgia. I mean, my goodness, Shane, you're going to be bloodied and bruised and beaten, and there's just going to be this big old landmine down in Fayetteville for them Razorbacks to knock off Lade Whiffen and just cause heartbreak for old Lane here. Give me that Ole Miss game, I think.
Arkansas is a sneaky team, buddy. They're a sneaky team. Obviously, we're picking up the hype. Me and you, I could already sense it, brother. We're getting on that bandwagon, and I right this moment don't see Arkansas obviously compete for a college football playoff spot, but I do see them causing havoc, like you said, making someone miss that shot, that opportunity every Saturday. I don't think we're looking at blowouts anymore, brother. I think we're seeing a lot of fourth quarter games, and it's going to come down. They got some playmakers on that team,
right? And then a team we haven't mentioned in our playoffs. I think their fan base rightfully will be upset, but I just call it like I see it. Shane, how about Auburn? What game could they trip up somebody looking to reach that college football playoff?
Mike, I tried not just to pick the rivalries here, but I'm picking it.
At Tuscaloosa?
Absolutely, man. It doesn't matter where this game's played, brother.
I don't think they've won there since Cam Newton was on their team.
Well, Mike, you ruin your list. I'll ruin mine. I'm telling you right now, you can't. There's been opportunities. They may not have, but there have been a lot of down to the wire type games. So I'm looking November 30th. I think Hugh gets up for the big games, just like he did last year. I mean, it was just one season ago where the GOAT, Nick Saban, was back against the wall. You know what I'm saying? And it took a damn miracle for them to win that game. So that one always stands out. It doesn't matter how good one team is or how bad the other one is. But I will tell you that this year will be the year that the talent gap is smaller than it's ever been. Well, not ever, but at least the last 6 years, it feels like.
Right. And then a couple of our cousins in the comments, Shane, I think they nailed it. Oklahoma, that's the one I'm eyeing right there. September 28th. It's a home game, and there's a critical reason why I'm picking that one, Shane. You look at what Oklahoma's got. They got Tennessee before that game, and then the big rivalry game, Texas. So this is a sandwich game. If Oklahoma starts out 4-0, which not a given, but I don't think that's much of a, something that can happen either. But if they go 4-0, they're going to be thinking playoff. They're going to be thinking, this is the SEC. We got this on lockdown. We beat Texas last year. We'll beat their ass again. And then they'll get caught coming down to the Plains. They'll find out all this, it ain't just rumors that it's tough to win on the Plains. That is one hellacious place to come out alive.
I may switch mine. Can I do that? Yeah, I could do that. It's my list. It's my show today. So I can do what I want. So I want to switch it because you made too much damn sense right there. That is a trap game. So yeah, give me that one.
Yeah, I think so. All right, so
South Carolina, they're not on there.
Well, yeah, let's do South Carolina. Who you got as the big trap game here?
Oh, the big trap game here. I'm going to go, this is maybe a little bit different, but I just told you I think they got a really good shot. They got a really good team, but September 14th, I think there's going to be we're in Columbia. Everybody's going to say LSU by 14 points, and then next thing you know, you look up, South Carolina's hanging in there at that early kickoff game. That's the one I've got. And it may be early because we haven't quite figured out South Carolina. They didn't show too much, with Old Dominion there, Kentucky. Maybe that one came down to the wire. But I just think that's a game that looks trap all over it.
Shane, you are one smart bastard, because you nailed it. It's LSU. Come on, man. I'm right there with you. And again, LSU, I think most people are looking at Southern Cal. We ain't won an opener to Brian Kelly. UCLA, who knows what in the world to make of them. But for some reason, everybody's overlooking that trip to Columbia. We don't know the kickoff time yet, but you better bet your sweet ass it's going to be a night game, Shane. Come on, Black Magic down there. I think South Carolina gives LSU a run for their money. And again, that's in part maybe for me because I'm not quite on board with the LSU hype, but you win that South Carolina game on the road, I'll start buying into it. I think that's a big one to watch here.
And they really need one. Because they didn't really have that last year, a year before. You had the Tennessee Clemson game. Kind of hang your hat on. It's like we need something. We need an early spark. We don't need something late in the season. I think that's what Beamer and company really want.
Right. All right. How about Mississippi State, Shane? Again, first year Jeff Lebby. Maybe we get this momentum going. Year two, maybe we can reach the playoff. But year one, more of a spoiler. What trap game you got for cousin Sven in the comments here?
Little tough, Mike. Little tough. I mean, if I was going off your list, I'd point at the Florida Gators. But going off my list, I mean, honestly, I think the best shot. Boy, I didn't have one for these guys.
Oh,
is that a shame?
I got a perfect one for you.
Give me Ole Miss. Worst case scenario, we got a rivalry, Egg Bowl. Is that the one you have?
No.
Oh.
I didn't just go off the last game of the season every damn one like you said.
Yeah, I know.
Because these teams will be beaten up by then. Who knows? Ole Miss, they'll probably have locked up a playoff. Mississippi State would just be trying to piece this roster together. I got the perfect one that you are going to love, Shane.
November 9th?
September 28th, Texas. And again, I'll tell you why, brother, because Texas is going to be 4-0. Mm-hmm. They're going to whoop the hell out of Michigan on the road. They're going to whoop the hell out of all these Colorado State, UTSA, UL. They're going to be high, flying high. We got this SEC. SEC ain't got nothing on us. And then Mississippi State, Jeff Lebby. Jeff Lebby went up and down their defense last year, Shane, in Oklahoma.
He did.
Again, different situation, but I think Texas is going to find out. And this is the thing that Texas people don't quite understand yet, Shane, where they just look at the schedule and say, oh, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, Florida, Arkansas, Kentucky. We'll beat the hell out of all these teams. That's what we all say. And short of Alabama and Georgia, we always get tripped up somewhere. Yeah. So I think Mississippi State, unlike you went the last game of the year. I think they're going to be so thin, so beat up by that point.
That's true.
If they're going to catch somebody, they got to catch them early. So I think the only shot or the best shot is getting Texas first SEC game. I don't care that it's in Austin. I feel like those fans will be like, we don't even got to wake up to make it to the Mississippi State game, and those are the ones that get you.
I had a different one for Texas. That's the only reason I didn't go. I thought about Lebby in Oklahoma and just how close that game was last year. But, yeah, you make some really good points there, Mike.
All right, so what about your Kentucky Wildcats, Shane?
Kentucky Wildcats. I've got the Ole Miss Rebels. I know it's away, but there's a shot. Maybe they stumble with South Carolina. Maybe they get beat by Georgia. They start the season 2-2, maybe 3-1. Ole Miss is flying high, like kind of similar situation that you're talking about with Texas. Look at Ole Miss's schedule. You want to talk about just a teaser here? Talk about the warm-up, brother. You go Furman, MTSU, Wake Forest, and Georgia Southern. You're beating every one of those teams by 30 points. You're feeling good. And then all of a sudden, that tough, hard-nosed Stoops Kentucky team comes into town. And, brother, I tell you, we've seen these. They play each other tough. So I think that this will be a hell of a game. But if Kentucky's going to upset anyone, because if Ole Miss loses at Kentucky – that's the one loss that Kiffin throws into his schedule every single year, the one that you didn't expect. And not saying it's going to happen. I know it's a long shot, but by God, if they get that one, I'm out on Ole Miss.
Great minds think alike, Shay. That's exactly what I got. Ole Miss for Kentucky. Again, they could play spoiler to a couple teams. I was thinking Tennessee, perhaps, and for the reason that I think that game means a heck of a lot more to Kentucky than it does Tennessee. But again, that's not necessarily translated to actually helping them in that damn game. But that was one I considered. Maybe Texas, but again, that late in the year, I'm not buying it. So I think it is. I think it's Lane Whiff and Kiffin here. Just like exactly what you said was what I was going to say. They're going to be feeling good. They won't even have, played their starters in the second half of a football game this year. You know what I mean? So
Exactly.
It's usually when you start to get tested, it could be a fourth quarter game. Maybe Kentucky surprises you early in maybe you're down at halftime. How will Ole Miss respond? I don't know until you get punched in the, Mike Tyson, what's he say? Everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the damn mouth. Well, what will Ole Miss plan be? Because I think Kentucky will come in there looking for some vengeance when it was just a couple years ago, Shane. That was, I believe it was a top 10 showdown, Kentucky, Ole Miss, some questionable officiating that I'm sure Mark Stoops and company have not forgotten.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we've got so Vanderbilt probably the only one, the last one that we both had off our list, correct?
Yeah.
And Vanderbilt, we're talking about spoiler for the college football playoff. I've got Virginia Tech, Mike, week 1. As they storm through the ACC, we're going to get to the end. We're saying we can't put this team in the playoffs because they lost to Vanderbilt week 1.
Oh, you're gonna hate this one, Shane.
Don't you do it, Mike.
I made fun of you for all the rivalry games. Tennessee Vols, November 3rd. Wouldn't that be the most Tennessee thing? I mean, you got to admit that. Let's say Tennessee's like 11 or they'd be 10-1, looking to go 11-1. They'd be a lock for the college football playoff, and it would be the most Tennessee thing ever. Tennessee's going to, they're not even going to prepare for that game.
Right.
They're going to be, who we got in the playoff? Can we make the SEC championship? I mean, they're going to be this look-ahead factor times a million. Meanwhile, you got Clark Lee and company fighting for their damn lives over there. They hate Tennessee. I don't even think they say Tennessee. They're like Derek Dooley, the Team Orange from over there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's the ultimate trap game for Tennessee this year is Vanderbilt. So if Vanderbilt beats Tennessee, you're gone. You are out of the playoff. You got no business in it. So I think Tennessee is that trap game for Vanderbilt.
Buddy. No, I don't even want to entertain that one. Yeah, I'm sticking with Virginia Tech here, Mike.
All right, buddy. So
real quick, let's do Florida. I'm just going to do the ones that I didn't have. I didn't have Florida. I didn't have A&M.
Oh, gotcha.
So Florida, the obvious one here, Mike. I think you could predict it. Where's it at? Which team?
I mean, it's got to be Tennessee, right?
Yeah, October 12th, Tennessee Vols. And they're all, as a Tennessee fan, it's the same old. We're going into that game expecting to win, knowing we're going to win, and then all of a sudden you look up in the third, fourth quarter, and maybe you lose it. And you're losing at home. There's no way Tennessee bounces back and gets a college football playoff spot after that one.
I would disagree with you, though, Shane.
Really?
Because maybe I'm just different, but for me, and I'll pull up Tennessee's schedule here, I never believe anything about Tennessee. Now, normally it's earlier in the season, but I don't buy any of the hype until that Florida game. And it's like, if you beat Florida, they're going to win the national championship. That's the feeling. But that's always the one that dictates whether you're going to have a good season or not. So I see what you're saying, but I think if Tennessee, as good as winning at Oklahoma would be, as good as, I don't know how good NC State is, but people saying they're going to be good, beating that. I know Vol Nation, they're going to be saying, we're playoff bound and all that. But I think in their heart of hearts, Shane, no one will truly believe that until October 13th when they know if they've beaten the Florida game. I don't think they'll realistically think they're going to the playoff until they actually see Tennessee beat Florida, if that makes sense.
Pull that up one more time. So let me ask you, that scenario, they lose to Florida. Let's say they lose to Bama, they lose to Georgia. They're 9-3.
Yeah, they're out.
They're out. Okay, so let me switch it up on you. Let's say 10-2. Let's say Florida and Georgia are their losses. Are they getting in? Their only wins, Bama, and early in the season, Oklahoma. Those are like their signature wins, if you will.
I think it depends on, they'll probably get in there, but especially if Florida exceeds expectations like I think they will. Now, if Florida goes 4-8, like seems like 80% of our fans think, then probably not. Because how in the hell can you lose to that team? And again, maybe that won't eliminate you in this new model. It's all kind of guesswork.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know if you can survive that bad of a loss, if it is a bad loss.
I think that's the problem. At 10-2, there's going to be these bubble teams that we're trying to convince each other they should be in the playoff spot. But if you've got a team like Florida, and I'm not saying this happens, but if we predict they keep losing toward the tail end, each loss is just going to be that much more of a blow for the Tennessee Vols in trying to get them into the playoff spot. They can't lose. That is a must-win game.
Right. And then you got one more, you said, right? A&M?
A&M. And I'll let you guess what this one is.
It's going to be the rivalry, Texas, right?
Texas, that's right. And the only reason I say that, Mike, is because of strength of schedule. We talked about how easy the Longhorns have it. It's teed up beautifully, but if you drop that last game to an A&M team that's maybe struggling to make a bowl, not saying they are, let's just say they're a 7-win team or something like that. Mm-hmm. I think Texas lose a lot of momentum, and it would be tough to convince the entire country that a 10-2 Texas, the one that just came off a loss with A&M, belongs in the college football playoff spot. So that is the one I think that could ruin the dance.
And it would make A&M's year. I don't care if they're 1-11. You know what I mean?
Doesn't matter. Everybody gets a trophy.
All right, brother. So any other thoughts before we close up here?
No, man. This was fun. We got a lot of news. Steve's coming on tomorrow. We got the draft cranking up. So we got some draft coverage coming probably Sunday. Is that right?
Yeah, and we'll have another interview posting Saturday night. So, Shane and I won't be getting together for this show till Sunday, which seems forever away, but we're going to have a ton of content even before then. So we certainly don't want to leave anybody hanging. You know what?
No, absolutely. Yeah, and again, YouTube, when we close out, please hit the like button. That really does help us out a lot. And if you could go back, we got some awesome shows up. We got Peter Burns, Billy Lucci, Paul the King, Feinbaum. Be sure to give those a likes and a listen. I really enjoyed their time with those guys, and I think you guys would all enjoy the interviews.
Yeah, they were outstanding. So, can't recommend those enough. Everybody enjoy the draft. And again, Stephen and I will be back on here tomorrow, but for now, we're saying goodbye to Cousin Shane. So try to stay sober out there, Shane, or as sober as you can be. You know what?
That's right. I'll see y'all Sunday.
All right, brother. I appreciate you. I appreciate each and every one of you, especially those that showed up on the live show. We'll catch you on the next one.